So what do we have? We have YouTube, and then when do we have the recording, right?
Yep, we're
Y-
all set.
YouTube is on?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I will call the meeting of the Bloomfield Inland and Wetlands Watercourse Commission to order. Today is Monday, July 21st, 2025. It is 7:03 p.m. And in attendance, commission members, we have Kevin Wilcox, Paul, Glenn, David, our new member Lorenzo, myself, Alan Budkowski, and recording secretary would be Rebecca Jones. Uh, First, first item on the agenda is wetlands permit for 5, 7, and 9 Northwood Drive. This is a public hearing. So is there a
I
motion?
move that we open the public hearing.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Glenn.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous. Well, before we get into that too, Lorenzo is our new member on the commission. And I just want to tell you, Lorenzo, don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no stupid questions. So don't be afraid. That's how we all learn.
Leave the stupid questions to me, Lorenzo.
No, I got a
Yeah.
few for myself, so.
You have company going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this is a public hearing which was opened before and tabled, and now we're resuming it. The public hearings are, for your benefit, are where the public can ask questions and make comments. That's one of the only way that the public can ask about ongoing applications unless they put it in writing to Peter, but the public can participate. The questions from the public can only be on wetlands issues. We're not concerned with
Zoning.
traffic, zoning issues, appearance, anything like that, strictly wetlands. And in Connecticut, wetlands is determined by soil types, not water. Okay. All right. So let's proceed. With item number 1. Peter, where are we?
Yeah, we need to promote Mr. Hooley to be the applicant's representative on this one.
All set.
So the commission would have, or the commission did receive a message from me, not a message, a memorandum from me dated July 11th. The applicant got it too. And the property had been visited by the commission and by me on several occasions, and they presented a plan which we were okay with, but there were some some additional information that we were looking for. We did receive a revised plan. You guys got the same plan in your commission package, in your agenda package. My staff report recommends more than several conditions of approval. But before we get into that, some of the recommended modifications to the plan were made. In most every case, they were done in accordance with our recommendations and have thus reduced the impact to the upland review areas. This application has only 200 square feet of direct wetland impact, but about an acre and a half of impact to the upland review area. So my recommendations are for if the commission moves forward to approve the application. Some of them are pretty standard. We want final plans, final revisions. In some cases, the commission's actions or other other things come into play after the meeting, which have to be addressed. One of them is adding all the conditions of approval to the plans. So we want 3 paper copies and some Mylars and a digital form compatible with our GIS. We do, as a matter of course and per the regulations, require that a copy of the permit be filed on the land records. We're asking for $5,000 per acre of development or portion thereof for a performance bond, which in this case they have 3.92 acres of disturbance, and a $20,000 bond is recommended. We ask that they have a pre-construction meeting and that they give me notice and we walk the limits of clearing before the trees are cut. And the regular requirements for soil erosion and sediment control have to be maintained. Those last 3 or 4 were conditions to be complied with before the start of construction. Conditions to be complied with prior to the approval of the final CO is an as-built site plan prepared by a licensed land surveyor. The as-built plan shall contain the certification by a professional engineer that they've inspected the improvements and they have been installed in accordance with the plans. The permittee shall also schedule an inspection of the completed project with me 2 weeks before the anticipated date. The 11th one here is permanent markers shall be installed to delineate the limits of the approved outside storage area. This is something that I think we should have a bit of a discussion on with Mr. Hooley, but I'm going to run through the rest of them. What the permanent markers might be is something that we should discuss, or should be. The permit authorizes 200 square feet of wetland impact. Most of these are for, or all of this is for removal of some concrete blocks that make up their storage bins for materials that were in or close to the wetlands. And also about a half an acre of impact to the vegetated buffer zone. That one might need some further discussion as well. All areas of encroachment onto abutting properties and into wetlands shall be removed and restored with the removal of encroaching material to the level of existing organic material and seeding to establish permanent ground cover. Areas without existing organic layer shall be supplemented with a minimum 6-inch layer of organic soil. The property has encroached, and I'm going to say inadvertently, because I don't believe it was done on purpose, onto the neighbor to the northeast, northwest, I believe. They own the property to the northeast, northwest, and some to the west. These are minor incursions. The plan calls out for these to be removed, these encroachments to be removed. There's number 16 of my recommended conditions is mitigation and buffer plantings shall be shown on the final plans. The permit will expire on the same date as the expiration of the Town Planning and Zoning Commission approval, or 10 years after Wetlands Commission approval, whichever is sooner. As always, I recommend that the stormwater management basins and their outfalls be constructed and fully stabilized during the first construction season. And then in accordance with section 11.1.3, the applicant, the permittee shall engage and pay for independent third-party consultant to do weekly erosion control inspections. Any areas disturbed of the project shall be restored to their previous existing condition as much as possible if the project is canceled or delayed. And I'm asking that a contingency replanting plan be included in the plan set. I'm not sure if it was in there. I have to go back and look at that. Annual stormwater reports, detailed plan and schedule for post-construction stormwater management. Pretty much these are somewhat boilerplate kind of stuff. The applicant, the permit is not transferable without the approval of the commission. And this permit is to be signed to the applicant, which is Burns Construction LLC. If another entity should be the permittee, we should discuss that as well. All trash and debris to be removed from the wetlands for any construction. Permittee shall notify the commission in writing the change of ownership of the property. Any modifications to the regulated activities due to the approval or review of the project by town plan and zoning, the health district, the DEEP, etc., shall be submitted back to the commission for review. Those are, I've got listed 26 here. Three of them maybe need some more discussion. I'm not going to read through my description of the proposed regulated activities, but we might want to discuss the criteria for decision, which starts on page 7 of my report. The first criteria for decision is environmental impact of the proposed regulated activities on the wetlands or watercourse. The direct impact is to a relatively small area of wetlands, 200 square feet. Disturbances to the upland review areas within, it should say, a few feet of the wetlands will also have an indirect impact to the wetlands. So there are some regulated activities that are going to occur not in the wetlands, but within 10 feet or less. The second criteria for decision is the applicant's purpose for and any prudent and feasible alternatives. Let me know if you're falling asleep. I'll pick up the pace. The applicant's purpose is to construct an expanded contractor's yard. There are prudent and feasible alternatives to the proposed regulated activities, including more separation between the wetlands and the proposed improvements that would cause less or no environmental impact. The third is relationship between short-term and long-term impacts on wetlands and watercourses and the maintenance/enhancement of long-term productivity of the wetlands. The short-term impacts will be from the initial clearing and construction work. The long-term impacts on wetlands will be from the increase in impervious coverage, loss of vegetated buffer, and additional stormwater discharges. The maintenance/enhancement of the long-term productivity of the wetlands and watercourses will depend on the ongoing maintenance of the site and the stormwater management systems. The fourth criteria is irreversible or irretrievable loss of wetlands and watercourse resources and mitigation areas. Let's see. So there will be a small loss of wetland resource caused by the proposed regulated activities. That would be the 200 square feet. The future ability to protect, enhance, or restore the wetland watercourses. No future ability to protect, enhance, or restore wetland or watercourse resources is foreclosed. Mitigation for the direct wetland and or watercourse impact shall be provided with the planting of trees and shrubs at the limits of clearing and otherwise indicated on the final plans as as a condition of issuing the permit to maintain or enhance existing environmental quality. There should be, I'm going to have to go back and look. I think one of my conditions of approval that dealt with impacts to the upland review area recommended planting of more trees and shrubs on the property. So the let's see, mitigation for direct wetland and watercourse impact shall be planting of trees. I think I read that already. It indicated on the final plans. The fifth criteria is the character and degree of injury to, interference with, safety, health, or reasonable use of property which is caused or threatened by the proposed regulated activity. There shouldn't be any injury to or interference with safety, health, or reasonable use of property which is caused by this proposed regulated activity. Number 6 is impacts of the proposed regulated activity on wetlands or watercourses outside the area for which the activity is proposed, and future activities associated with or reasonably related to the proposed regulated activity which are made inevitable. There are some impacts of proposed regulated activities on wetlands and watercourses outside the area for which the activity is proposed. Stormwater discharges are proposed to the southwest wetland watercourse that extends onto the abutting property. So there may be, there's a direct connection there. So I can't really say that there's no off-site wetland impacts here. No future regulated activities are made inevitable. So that's the meat of my staff report. There's a couple more pages of comments, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if you like. I believe Mr. Hooley has a revised plan to review with you guys, so I'm going to pass it on to him. And
right.
I think, Mr. Hooley, you can, as a member of the panel, share your screen.
Very good. Thank you. So actually, to start, if it's possible, there are a couple more members from our project team. If we could get them promoted, just a couple people to help present or answer questions. I know we have Jordan Buslowitz here from BL Companies. She's actually going to be running the screen sharing for me. And then I know we have John Casey as well, helping to represent the application. And then we have our wetland scientist, Sagan Simcoe from BL Companies. Would it be possible to get them promoted?
Sure.
You're all set.
Very good.
Did we get, there we go, Sagan too. Okay.
Okay.
Want me to start, Chip, or-
Yes. Go ahead, John. Thank you.
Thanks. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is John Casey. I'm a partner at Robinson & Cole. We represent the applicant. I don't think the Burns Construction Company. I don't know if Ken or Ken Jr. or Joe might be out there watching, but they are the ones with an interest in this property. They will be the applicant and the permittee to Mr. Castaldi's comment earlier about who this permit is going to. And we have Tim, Jordan, and Sagan as well. Just to set the scene a little bit, since we did just open this and it was a couple months ago. So this property is zoned I2, which is areas suitable for warehousing, secondary processing, packaging, fabricating, finished goods and equipment related to outdoor storage and incidental sales. That's the zoning lot or zoning district we're in. As in the call of the meeting, there's 4 lots. There's 5 Northwood Drive, which is the only developed building, developed lot, has an existing building, pavement, gravel outside storage area. It was originally built in 1966. 7 Northwood Drive is to the south. That's wooded and undeveloped. 9 Northwood Drive is further south, wooded and undeveloped. And then 9 West Dudleytown Road is to the northeast, again, wooded and undeveloped. And this is in the industrial park, so the surrounding land uses are commercial, industrial businesses. There's a town public works facility, a couple more undeveloped parcels, fire station. The total area is 6.62 acres. Back in May, we had the wetlands map amendment approved. So there's 0.878 acres, which is 38,234 square feet of wetlands that were approved in two different pieces. There's a northeast wetland, more up on 9 West Dudleytown Road. That's 0.214 acres, about 10,500 square feet. And then there's the southwest wetland, which is closer to the activities here. That's 0.65 acres, about 27,646 square feet. And that extends off to the south and west. As I said, the wetlands map amendment was approved. There was no ponds, swamps, water courses. It was just wetlands. If you have any questions about that, Sagan is here and he can speak to that if there's any questions about the type of wetlands. So that's sort of where we are, and then I'll turn it over to Tim, who has. Oh, there he
Very
is.
good.
Yep. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, John.
Yep. Thanks.
And Jordan, if you could quickly start with the survey plan, we can just quickly share that as a base map here for setting the stage. I know John just briefly mentioned kind of the property here, so we'll just quickly look at the survey here. So north is oriented to the right on this plan view. So as mentioned, there's one existing building pretty much in the center of this plan view here. That is the 5 Northwood Drive parcel. There are the paved areas surrounding that, primarily to the
Excuse me,
top.
can-
And
Can you
yes.
make it a little larger, please? Zoom in a little more. Yep, good. Thank you.
Yeah, so that area, okay, it's kind of like a dotted area. That's the building outline. There are paved areas to the top right and bottom of the building here. And then looking out away from that, the majority of the remaining parcels is wooded. The areas with the cross hatching it through it, the diagonal lines, those are the approved wetlands from the wetlands map amendment that we discussed a couple months ago. So just wanted to quickly set that stage. I guess now if we can jump to the site plan. In total, there are no building improvements proposed as a part of this. The main goal of the project is to improve the site to function as a contractor yard. The building right now does function as a contractor yard with limited outdoor storage in the rear. However, for Burns Construction to function properly, they do need an expansion to the yard space. So what we are proposing to do is make some improvements to the yard in the back, but the main focus area is expansion of the yard space to the plan left of the building, which is the south side of the building. So as you can see here, we kind of have highlight a few of the work areas. The light gray shade, those are areas where we're doing pavement improvements or new paving. So starting on the right side of the building, we are expanding the parking lot a little bit to the plan right, that will allow us to achieve the required parking here, get the required separation from a zoning standpoint from the building. And also there will be a stormwater improvement under this portion of the parking lot that I'll get to in a minute. But this side is more or less parking areas for employees. Continuing to the rear of the building, there are, as Peter mentioned, there's a few material storage bins along the very top of the plan and existing conditions that do encroach just over the property line. We are proposing to remedy that, pull those material storage bins onto the property. So that's shown in that very top edge with kind of the gray dotted area. There's 3 of them located in that area. Continuing down just that left corner there, we're proposing 2 dumpster pad areas. That's directly adjacent to those material storage bins. Continuing down that left side, from the back of the building towards the side, there's again, the lighter gray solid fill. That is new paving areas. We are proposing to add a driveway connection around the back of the building from that material storage area to the new yard space over to the left-hand side of the plan here. That saw the lighter gray is paving. It's bituminous asphalt. Um, and then as we head farther to the plan left, the darker gray is the main contractor yard space. The typical contractor yard activities, parking of equipment and, like dump trucks, trailers, things of that nature. There may be some outdoor storage of, various products like piping, manhole structures, things of that nature. Um, the darker gray area here represents the pavement or surface treatment here, which is proposed to be asphalt millings. Being a contractor yard especially with the equipment that the Burns construction team operates, a lot of equipment with metal tracks. Going with standard bituminous asphalt would be chewed up and destroyed very quickly. And certainly, if you look at most other contractor yards, asphalt millings is more or less the gold standard. A lot of them are still gravel or dirt. So, we're proposing a more stable surface here. Continuing down to the bottom left, we have our proposed stormwater management basin. That area is designed to manage the peak, mitigate the peak rate for this new yard space to the plan left of the building. It's an above ground stormwater basin. We have treatment through largely LID infrastructure that we can get to in a moment. We are improving both driveways out to the street. And then last thing I wanted to touch upon from the site plan here is if you can see, and maybe Jordan, if you can zoom in on the left side here, there's kind of a black dashed line that goes around all of the new paved areas and the yard space. That is a proposed barrier between the developed area and the limit of disturbance. We are proposing to install Jersey barriers as a permanent barrier so that there's a clear line there of where the contractor yard stops and where the green space begins. We did explore a few different options with curbing or guardrails or similar, but we feel Jersey barriers provide both a tall physical barrier that's observable for various sizes of construction equipment, but also something very durable. Certainly more durable than a curb or some other low barrier or fence. So we are proposing that concrete Jersey barrier, essentially wrapping from the dumpster pad up behind the building all the way down past the stormwater basin. So it provides a full enclosed barrier on that south side of the site. So if we can jump over to the stormwater plan. So we do have a comprehensive stormwater management system, as mentioned. There are a few catch basins on the site today, primarily there's a catch basin in the rear of the building, and then there's a couple out towards the street. The rear of the building has the storm drain system back there has two primary functions. There's one that focuses as an inlet for the paved areas in the back. There is also a culvert that runs under this section, more or less hydraulically linking the northern wetland or plan right wetland to the southern wetland or plan left wetland. That system is remaining as is. The culvert's going to remain. The catch basin's remaining. No net improvements, no net change back there. Looking on the right-hand side, just to the right of the building, to accommodate the increased paved area for expanded parking, we are doing stormwater improvements here, capturing more of the stormwater runoff. And due to higher groundwater on this side of the site, we are unable to infiltrate on site. The groundwater was just too high to make the grades work. What we are proposing is a subsurface retention system where we essentially hold that water back and very slowly release it out to the municipal system out in Northwood Drive. I would like to note, as a part of this, one of Peter's comments previously was analyzing the drainage system in Northwood Drive to verify that it has capacity for this water. We did provide that analysis, and we showed uh, no net negative impacts to the municipal system in Northwood Drive as a result of this system. Continuing to the plan left, which is the southern side of the building, the new yard space is graded such that it will work from plan orientation from top left as high elevation down towards more or less the bottom right. Um, in the bottom right-hand corner, we have a surface drainage into a vegetated swale that will provide pre-treatment right where the hand is on the screen. So it's going to provide the pre-treatment and conveyance for runoff into our surface stormwater management basin in that bottom left-hand corner on the screen. The basin is sized to mitigate peak runoff for all design storms up to and including the 100-year storm. In excessively large storm events, there may be very minimal overflow. We did design in a controlled outlet. In this case, this area of the site drains, in existing conditions, all drains towards the larger wetland, which is the top left of the plan sheet, through all sheet flow. So to match the existing conditions as best as possible, we designed the overflow as a weir in the berm of the basin and then flow through a surface channel out towards that wetland. Again, trying to maximize low impact development with green features, surface management items, as well as trying to match the existing flow conditions, keep everything sheet flow to best match those existing conditions and the way the wetland receives water. As a part of the system, it is a net improvement in stormwater quality from the developed conditions in the eastern half of the site. The northern half of the site, the plan right. The new developed areas to the south or plan left is all designed in compliance with the latest Connecticut stormwater management guidelines. So there will be adequate stormwater treatment prior to discharge. And then quickly, I'll touch upon a couple other items, just big picture. No major changes in utilities as a part of this project. There is no site lighting proposed as a part of this. We do have a landscaping plan, and Jordan, if you can actually jump to that next. The landscaping is focused fairly heavily on providing screening and buffering in compliance with the zoning regulation. So this plan is a little busy. So the proposed plantings are represented through kind of the circles and hexagon shapes along the street and up the left-hand side of the property, as well as some behind the material storage bins to the top of the plan that's just off screen. The X's represent existing trees over, I believe it's 12 inches in diameter, that will be removed as a part of this project. The remaining disturbed areas will be hydroseeded with a couple different varieties of seed mix. The more dotted is a typical lawn seed mix. We have a basin seed mix within the basin itself. The floor of the basin specifically chosen for a typical wet foot condition, and then a conservation seed mix in pretty much all of the lawn or the seated areas away from the building itself, especially as you head towards the western wet or the southern wetland here, and the left-hand side of the site. Um, and I believe that is the majority of the proposed improvements. I guess uh, John or Sagan, did you want to finish up with any last thoughts?
I was going, before we do that, Mr. Hooley, can I ask you to just review where the regulated activities are?
Yes. Actually, I think it might be best, Jordan, if you can highlight on the plan, if you can highlight what where the upland review area is. I think that might be the easiest way. So it may be a little hard to get going here, but so this area in yellow does represent the upland review area around those two wetlands on site. This outer line represents kind of the outer boundary.
And that's 100 feet from the wetland, from the flagged wetlands.
Correct.
Okay. And what's the line inside that is the vegetated buffer zone,
Yes,
which is 50 feet.
correct. Yes, the inner line is the 50-foot vegetated buffer, yes. Yes, as you can see with this, now that things are highlighted a little bit, we did try to do as much as possible to keep construction activity outside of the vegetated buffer wherever possible. Obviously, there are some areas where there's a little bit of work in there, but the limit of disturbance, or I'm sorry, the proposed improvements are kept to a minimum in those areas to provide uh, the needed functionality for the site. The vast majority of the yard space, of the storage areas, things of that nature are all kept outside. The back of the building is largely matching existing conditions. And then certainly, the upland review in yellow there, there is, a little bit of the storage yard that falls within there, but, it's again kept to a minimum. The majority of the storage yard is located outside of the upland review area.
Tim, can I just also have you or Sagan just Peter talked about the direct impacts to wetlands, 200 square feet, and maybe I don't know if Jordan can sort of just highlight where that is on the yeah. Um, because although it's direct impacts to wetlands, it's really removal of material out of the wetlands. So if
Yeah, this is Sagan Simcoe from BL Companies. That area that was just highlighted, yeah, that area is mostly Phragmites at the moment. So it's, invasive species growing in that area anyway. So it's not a really high quality wetland. So I don't think the adjoining wetland further to the north or to the right of your screen, the remaining wetland won't be negatively impacted by removing that material. If anything, it'll be benefited by having the invasive species removed.
John, any last items you'd like to finish up with?
no, I think Peter mentioned he went through his conditions of approval, and I know there's a few that he said he wanted to have some more discussion on. I know we have a few thoughts on some of those. I don't know if this is an appropriate time.
Yeah, that would be good if you could bring those up.
Okay. So
Which one?
I'll serve them up to Tim. Uh, um, let me get my list. Well, there's just a mention, it's numbers 13 and 14 on page 4, a recommendation about adding plants between the limits of disturbance and the wetlands. And Jordan and Sagan and Tim looked into that. I think there's some, if that's something the commission is interested in, that's something that can be done. And then with that, I don't know how much detail or, if that's something you, as the commission, want to hear more about, we're happy to talk about that.
I'd like to say that this is one of my standard recommendations, and particularly on a wooded site.
Understood. Yep.
What happens with a wooded site that's cleared is you end up with a very sharp break in the forest. And the planting along that edge of clearing allows there to be a transition and also prevents or tries to prevent the invasive species from taking over that new open area. So if we could back out a little bit on this picture, on this view, you show some trees and shrubs along the south side of the property line. I'm recommending in that condition that those same kind of plantings be continued all the way around the limit of clearing.
Okay. So I'll ask Sagan looked into this and has some thoughts given the nature of the site, and as Peter, as you said, the transition from a cleared area to a forest. So Sagan.
Yeah, I had a few recommendations for plantings, exactly like the area you were talking about, Peter, in the along the edge of the clearing there. I was thinking as far as the tree species, I was thinking some younger white pine trees, and possibly followed with an understory of like arrowwood, high bush blueberry, northern spice bush, the sweet pepper bush, winterberry. Those are all shrub species that I saw growing in and around the edge of the wetland. So it's my experience that if you add more species that are already growing there, of course, as long as they're native, that's usually the best way to go. So that would.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree. Can I ask to zoom into the middle top of the page? So there's, okay, yeah, and then slide it a little bit to the right. I'm sorry, the other way, the other right.
So we can see the south. Okay.
Yeah. So if you look in the background here, and we might have to zoom in a little bit more, there's an area here that's presently used for storage on the site, which is right adjacent to the wetlands. And that's another area where I think additional plantings could be done. It would be right in there where you are now. Yeah. On the west side, north or up on the drawing. Right in there where the hand is now, you can see a little area that's kind of outlined with a dashed line that's not a contour. So there's some outside storage happening up there that they're not going to need with the new outside storage area. So that was another spot where I thought some other trees and shrubs could be planted. They're definitely in the upland review area and the vegetative buffer there.
How would you would you just do this as a condition of approval and we would provide a planting plan, showing areas and species? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Would be a revised plan, revision of this plan.
Okay.
That would be submitted to Peter. Doesn't come back to the commission, right, Peter?
Cool.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, that's how we usually do it. The commission can ask to see it too if you want to.
Okay.
But I mean, I agree. Mr. Simcoe said it correctly. The best thing to plant there are the trees or shrubs that are already there. I'm not crazy about the white pines, I have to say, but that's a native species, so it fits.
I mean, we could switch them out for pin oak or something like that, easily enough. So
yeah, actually, hardwoods, conifers deciduous would be my preference.
certainly we'll take note of that.
Just going on my list where I had some questions to continue, I think we was number 15. There's concerns about encroachment along the western boundary with the Mather property. So as part of this plan, we're removing, there was some minor encroachment of the bins, the storage bins, and so we're doing that, and you could see where we're pulling everything back. We're getting them away from the wetlands. I think there is some documented encroachment from the Mather property onto our property and I know in Tim's letter, we could maybe make this as a condition of approval. We haven't really gone very far with them about trying to resolve that issue. I mean, it's in the upland review area. It's not in wetlands as far as I understand. So, but
Yeah, I have to say, I'm more concerned about reestablishing some vegetation where it's gone, close to
Okay.
the wetlands in that area. The concrete barriers on the Mather would probably have to be removed from their side
yeah,
of the line, right?
I would think so. Yes.
Yeah. So, I see what you're saying. We can't make it, you're questioning whether we can make that a condition of
We can't
approval
make them
for
do that,
somebody. Yeah, for
Right.
somebody else.
Right. So we can, yeah, the planting plan, obviously, yep. And obviously removing the encroachment that this property owner and this applicant have control over. Everything's being pulled back on the property. So
We
we're
may
doing
have
as
to,
much as-
revise the language of 15 to include that.
Yeah, you had mentioned it also on page 10 in your comments, where page 10 seemed to focus on the encroachments from this property out and not the ones coming across. So we're just a little we just wanted to make it clear, understand exactly what the condition would be.
Yeah, I would recommend to the commission that they consider modifying 15 to somehow include include language to saying the encroachments that you have control over.
Mhm. Yeah, because right now it just says all areas of encroachment onto abutting properties, so that could be either direction.
Yep. Okay.
The next one we had a question about was number 20. It was a request for a contingency replanting restoration plan. So we're going to ask the commission to reconsider, or I know they haven't added it yet. I know it's just a recommendation right now, but we don't believe that this plan, that a plan of this type is needed. At this point, our clients are fully committed to this project and seeing it through to completion. Perhaps it could be amended so that if there's some sort of trigger of abandonment, if there's 6 months, a year of inactivity after the start of construction, then a replanting restoration plan would be required.
So
Right now, it would just be done with, well, I know it's in its name, I know it's a contingency, but we think it's a very low likelihood of probability.
So what you're saying is that you do not want to come up with a restoration plan in case the planning does not take hold?
No, it's not a restoration plan if the planting doesn't take hold. It's a fully replanting plan of the any areas of the site that are disturbed if they start the activities but don't complete them. And I don't know,
To
Tim,
start the activities of doing the planting?
No, so if I may, and Peter, feel free to correct me if we misunderstood your comment
yeah.
here, but the way we understand it is if the applicant starts construction, starts clearing, removes all the trees, and then cancels the project, the contingency plan would, as currently suggested, would propose replanting the cleared areas to essentially restore it back to pre-development conditions. So as Mr. Casey had mentioned, we are requesting the commission consider modifying that condition because the Burns family here is very committed to this project. There's a very, very low likelihood that the project may be canceled. So we request that the comment or condition be revised, as Mr. Casey had mentioned, maybe if there's 6 months or a year of inactivity, that then a contingency plan be triggered at that point.
Peter, wouldn't the bond take care of that?
Yes, I think so. The bond, the language of the bond is that it's for to make sure that all the conditions of approval are done and that all the site work is done. So I guess you could extend it to that as well. Right now, recommended condition 20 reads, any areas disturbed for this project shall be restored to their previous existing condition as much as possible, with the planting of trees, shrubs, and/or ground cover within 2 years of the date of approval or within 1 year of the initial site disturbances if the project is canceled or delayed by the applicant. And I think they're okay with that, but what they're not okay with is having a plan in the plan set at this point.
It's just extra work, to be honest with you.
Could we increase the bond?
You may, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look. I think we're set at 5,000
I think you're set at
per
5.
acre.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, for this site and what they're proposing to do here, they're proposing to do a lot more than $20,000 worth of work.
Right.
I'll just note that in terms some of the other conditions that we haven't touched on, like completing the stormwater basin first, like that's something that the clients are perfectly comfortable with. So they're not trying to just clear the site and maybe get around to doing the stuff that helps protect the wetlands. The first thing that's required by the conditions is the stormwater management basin, and that would be the first thing that goes in. So we feel sort of doing things in the right order. It makes the need for this contingency plan really extra, and if it was changed to read, that if say that last sentence was changed to read, after a period of 6 months of inactivity after the start of construction or clearing or disturbances, I guess using the same, after 6 months of non-activity after initial site disturbances, the applicant shall provide a contingency replanting restoration plan that identifies the areas to be replanted or restored.
Yeah, the only problem I have with that could take another 6 months.
Mm.
And let me ask you something. I would assume that the construction company is going to be doing all this work themselves, correct?
I believe so, yes.
So when they get really busy, what job's going to fall by the wayside?
Yeah. But also they want this site. I think Tim may have had more conversations with them about the use of the site, but they want this up and running.
Yes, this is going to be kind of a main operations hub for them, kind of on the northern half of the state. Right now, they have a facility they operate out of down on the southern half, but their operations are really growing in this area. They are currently leasing this building, and they are very kind of hamstrung currently with the limited space on site. So it is a very high priority for them to come in and get this yard expansion done as quickly as possible so that they have the space to function properly to serve their various projects on the northern half of the state. So it's certainly for operations, they're very motivated to come in and get this project done fairly quickly.
Mhm. That's why this one sort of jumped out at them. They're like delayed or canceled. Like we're not delaying it or canceling it. So, but we understand it from your point of view. But as Peter was going through it, and as we had read the conditions, I thought it was appropriate to bring up the concerns we have about them. So that's where we stand, and our clients sort of came out on that one. So we would just ask that you give it your consideration.
Peter, what are your thoughts?
I think there's I think some kind of a condition should be included for this restoration. I mean, if the project starts in before the end of the summer, there's a chance that that it will be clearing into the fall, and then it'll be close to the end of the planting season. So then we're looking into the next spring,
Mhm.
spring of 26 for for any final landscaping to go in. So it's possible that they'll finish quicker than that, but I'm guessing that's a pretty good timeline. I would be happy with the condition as it is. I really don't think that it makes, that it's a lot more work to show, a replanting plan. And the requirements are, or recommended requirements are, that if any disturbed areas are, remain just disturbed, not improved or replanted, within 2 years of the date of approval, or within 1 year of initial site disturbances. So that could be, if site disturbances start in September, say, you'll have, that's and for whatever reason they stop, this wouldn't kick in until a year from September.
All right. Any other conditions to discuss before we go to the public?
There was, sorry. Number 22, and this is really just a practical one. It's adding uh, the entire detailed plan and schedule for post-construction stormwater management and erosion control to the plan itself. It just, it'll add sheets and sheets. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, so on this one, we do have our full post-construction operation, we call it an operation and maintenance plan. It's in the stormwater report. It's usually the last appendix in our stormwater report. And typically those are, order of magnitude, like 30 pages or sometimes more. It includes a write-up on how the stormwater system functions, recommended maintenance checklists and schedules. And then specific to this site, we do have some proprietary or manufactured structures, like in this case, the underground retention system. We include the manufacturer's specifications on maintenance as well. So by adding the full report to our plans could add, quite a few plan sheets to the set. So in this one, we were looking to either reduce it down to very minimal amounts, and maybe it's just a bullet list of what the schedule is, or some other arrangement to formalize the operation and maintenance.
So, this is another one of my standard recommendations. I think, something, certainly a reference to the longer report and a schedule of, when to do what and what to do on the plan is what I'm looking for. I don't want to add 30 pages to the plan set. Does the present plan set refer to that report? It should be on
I
the,
think we can, I think we would make a few minor modifications to the plans to refer to that. We can work with you. Certainly don't want to hang up the commission. If they're all comfortable with us working with you, we can work with you after to kind of refine where that happens. But I certainly understand your comment and your preference here to get a schedule of maintenance and explicit reference to the operation and maintenance report. We're happy to do that.
okay.
All right, let's go to the public.
If I may, there was one other item I think we all had flagged. We just wanted to circle back on the markers. Um, I did want to circle back on that because I know it was mentioned. Peter had that as an item to circle back on. We do have the Jersey barriers as our kind of barrier between the two. I'm wondering if the commission would be willing to accept that, or are you looking for something specifically as a wetland buffer or marker of some kind?
Peter, what did you have in mind for markers?
Well, I think, something, you have to remember that there's heavy equipment on this site, so it has to be something that can stand up to some abuse. I'm really not a fan of the Jersey barriers, but it may be the best solution here.
You're not
The
thinking
only
of
concern,
millstones. You're
well,
not
the
thinking,
only, say it again?
you're not thinking of millstones, are you?
No, because that's not permanent enough.
Okay.
I mean, they're easier to move than a Jersey barrier. I
Okay.
think having them in that location that they're shown on the plan is okay, but I think there's a chance that there's going to be, there will be gaps between them, small gaps to let the runoff through. So I would be concerned a little bit about concentrating the flow in those locations. And, I think there's, the only other alternative would be more concrete blocks. And I don't think that's the way to go here. So I'm okay with the Jersey barriers.
Okay. Anything else on the conditions? All right.
No, in the listed recommended conditions, I think those are our only comments on the listed ones.
Okay.
If you want to talk about anything else, we're happy to do that as well.
All right.
But we're good with as drafted by Peter with the comments we just made. Right, Tim? I think we hit them all.
Yes.
Any questions from the public? You need to raise your hand. I don't see any questions from the public. Okay, questions from the commission.
I have a few.
Okay, go ahead, David.
All right. Can we talk about the pond, which is, I guess, just slightly, well, it's off-site. Can you point to that on the plans to show me where the pond is?
I think that's a good one for Sagan to discuss.
Yeah, there's definitely an area of ponded water to the south of the site, so it'd be on the left side of the screen. I'm not sure that the plan technically shows it because it does start a good way to the south. When I say a good way, it's probably 20 feet or so where the actual ponded area of the wetland exists, but the wetland that's on our property that we're looking at here, it does extend and flow to the south into that area.
Okay, so there is ponding on this, on your property. It's not just,
No,
no, there's not.
no, our wetlands do not pond. I mean, after a heavy rainstorm, I'm sure it'll hold water briefly, but it's none of the wetlands on our site will be ponded for any
Okay.
significant amount of time.
So you wouldn't consider any of the wetlands on your site to be a water course or a water body?
No.
Okay. And do we know, and this, you probably wouldn't have investigated this, but Peter, do we know if there's a vernal pool over there? Because I know closer to Blue Hills Ave, which is to the east, there's a couple of vernal pools. So I wasn't sure if that ponded, if you have any knowledge of that pond or ponded area to the south.
No, I don't.
Okay.
And these are the wetlands that were presented on the map amendment that were approved in May.
Right. But what I was getting to is if we know there's and it's off property, but if we know there's a perennial water course or water body, then we have a different buffer. But that might not go beyond where your buffer is anyway. So that wouldn't. It sounds like it's a little further out than I thought it was. But I just wanted to make sure that we had the correct upland review area, because even if it's off property, if it's documented and not contested, then it should have the correct upland review area. I think really that's it. I don't have a lot more questions on this application.
Could
Any
I
other
just jump on that, Alan?
Go ahead, Paul.
David, I was glad you asked it because I keep looking at the aerial photograph that was included in the packet, and there is a blue outlined area that's labeled pond/swamp, and it is showing up on 7 and 9 Northwood. So I'm I guess confused. It's
I think, and Sagan can fill in all the gaps, but on the prior mapping, I think areas were identified as the pond and swamp.
yeah, that's the image I'm looking at, what Jordan has on the screen right now.
Yep. So Sagan, can you explain what that is as compared to what was approved, what was found in the field and approved as a map amendment?
Yeah, that area, again, it's simply not ponded. Again, maybe after a heavy, downpour from a thunderstorm or something, it might hold water briefly. But I've been to the site several times, and at no time was it ever ponded. And I actually spent time there during different times of the year, not just in the spring, but also in the fall and the summer. So I've been there through pretty much all the seasons, and it has never once had water standing in it.
And if it had, Sagan, like our application, obviously for the map amendment would look different than what was presented.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I have to disagree. Can I, let's see, can I be allowed to share my screen here? Because both times that I was out there, and they were both in March, there was water in those wetlands.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can certainly have some standing water on the surface, but as far as ponding, a significant depth of water that would support, fish and or amphibians even, I personally have never seen it that wet. It's always been, you can walk across it and your boots would stay dry more or less.
And wouldn't have this been an issue when we did the map amendment?
No.
Because
it could have been. I mean, I mentioned it, I'm pretty sure. So this is a picture that can you guys see what I'm showing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is let's see, this is the south rather, southwesterly wetlands. And you look in the background, you can see the piles of soil that are on the neighboring property to the west. So, I mean, this is what it looked like when we were out there both times. So that's why that GIS plan shows, area pond / swamp. So I would agree that this probably isn't wet all year. It's probably wet today, and it certainly was wet in March. So part of I believe part of the requirements for the wetlands map amendment was to show where the new flagged wetlands are. And that's a fixed point. Where the limit of the water, standing water is here, is fluctuating, right? So it's kind of hard to nail down. But this area does hold water, at least during the spring and after heavy rains. I didn't go out in any other seasons. I wasn't there this summer. I was there in the spring. So, whether, what do we need to have to call it a pond? Probably for holding water for an extended period of time. So, is it a water course? Is it certainly a wetlands?
Yeah, that's my understanding, is for something to be technically defined as a pond, it has to hold water, perennially, basically, for the majority of the year. And I don't know if there's a depth minimum, but I mean, you can see in this photo, I mean, you can see the soil surface in it. So an area holding a half an inch of water, that usually does not meet the definition of a pond, especially when you have so many herbaceous species growing out of it. So if this had a lot of, if it had standing water for a longer period of time, you would see fewer herbaceous species growing within it. So yeah, I agree. It definitely will hold some water after a storm event, and certainly in the non-growing season in the spring, but not a significant amount to have it technically meet a pond.
And I guess my question in all of that is, I see it on here, and I know we looked at the amended wetlands map, and I do not have that in front of me, but are we all in agreement, Peter, that the wetlands as flagged are they take into account whatever they need to for the moisture that you saw, recognizing that it may not even meet the requirements of a vernal pool or a swamp? I mean, are we sufficiently far from that in the areas of disturbance? I'm just trying to understand if we've got this thing flagged.
Yes, I believe the wetlands were accurately flagged.
Great.
Okay. This area of temporary standing water is not near, at least in this location, it is not near the proposed improvements.
Great.
And wetlands, as Mr. Simcoe will confirm, are determined by soil type only.
Right.
Moisture does have an effect on identifying them, but it's not a requirement. So you don't have to have standing water in Connecticut to be a wetland.
Right. I'm just looking at it and saying to myself, if I were out there taking core samples and verifying the flags, we got this to everybody's satisfaction is, I guess, what I am asking.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just jump in real quick here? So I just want to, so everybody's sort of on the same page. We can have an intermittent water course, but it seems that this is probably not a water course because it doesn't have direction of flow or defined channel. We can have an intermittent water body that would typically be a vernal pool, but if this is not a vernal pool, then it's probably not an intermittent water body because it's not holding for long enough to sustain the amphibian life, or the breeding cycle. So then the other thing would be if there's a perennial water body, which this doesn't appear to be. So, and I'll sort of defer that to Mr. Simcoe as to sort of confirm those factors. So
Yeah,
you know,
I agree with everything you just said. Basically, I don't feel this would qualify as a vernal pool. Almost certainly not. It's just, it again, it will hold water briefly, but it's not going to do it long enough for, the obligate species of salamanders and frogs, etc., to be able to utilize it as, for breeding and reproduction. Again, from what I've seen throughout the several times a year I've been there, and including in the spring, it just doesn't quite fit. So,
Thanks.
Any other questions from the commission? Any comments from the public? No comment. Any comments from the commission?
Yes. Sorry, give me a moment to put my glasses back on. So, comment, I suppose it also goes with question, I'm not sure. Sorry, Mr. Chair. So on the landscape design, I just want to point something out. You have listed Picea pungens, and you listed as a Connecticut native. By no means is that a Connecticut native. It's native to the Rocky Mountains. I just would like to have that wording taken off. Now, as a horticulturalist, I have a couple concerns, but you can take them as however you want. So with both Picea pungens and Pinus strobus, the Colorado spruce and the eastern white pine, they're both under attack by 7, 8, 9 different species of needlecast fungus here in the state. And when they're planted close to roads where they're also being attacked by pollution, it makes the situation worse. And my suggestion is, if you can, think about some other species. If you need evergreens, maybe Abies concolor, the concolor spruce fir, maybe balsam fir. And I know Peter had some concerns about the eastern white pine, and you're thinking about using the northern red oak, or you said
I had mentioned the pin oak,
pin oak.
for deciduous.
Yeah.
The thought process behind the white pine, I was going for the evergreen species, just because based on the nature of the development, it's going to be a construction yard. There will likely be some dust being kicked up throughout the year. So I just thought an evergreen species would just have that much more of a buffer to physically block any dust from
Right.
getting into the wetland. But again, a deciduous species, as long as you have that bulk mass of plantings, including with any understory shrubs, that shouldn't be an issue. But that was the thought process.
And I also agree with Peter that more buffer around the areas of disturbance would be great. And I like the list of plants that you went over. They seem to be appropriate. So if you can do that, that would be really good. That's it for me. Thanks.
Any other comments? All right. Do we want to close the public hearing, or do we need it still open for additional information on the plantings, Peter? Can't hear you.
I think the commission has enough information to make a decision.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Made by Kevin,
Second.
seconded by Paul. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? It's unanimous. Public hearing is closed. So Do we want to act on this now, or do we need additional, does anybody feel we need additional information?
Oh, you closed the
Yeah,
hearing.
we closed the public hearing.
Yeah, I know we did, but we did ask him for additional plans or the conditions. That make sense? No. Okay.
So
No. All right. So what's the commission's pleasure? You want to act on it tonight?
Well, I think this is Mr. Shipman's time to shine and make a motion.
Well, I was about to say, I think in terms of um, further conversation, I don't have
Well,
my Robert's rules in front of me, but if we propose a motion and we have to change some of the conditions, that's an opportunity for further discussion.
Well,
Am I
that's how it
correct on that?
works.
Further
Yeah.
You make a
discussion?
motion, you get a
So-
second, then you discuss it, you change
Right.
the motion, and then you vote on it.
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so yes, I think we answer the chairman's question affirmatively, and I also propose the motion. So, let's tackle this. All right, so I'm going to make a motion to approve the wetlands permit application for numbers 5, 7, and 9 Northwood Drive and number 9 West Dudley Town Road, property IDs 5085, 5084, 5086, and 5087. Applicant Burns Construction Company, Inc. And wetlands file 75-2025-14 with the 26 conditions proposed in the wetlands agent's memo of July 11th.
And that's based on the plans dated when?
The plans are dated July. Plans are revised July 3rd, 2025. Am I correct on that? I'm seeing
Yep.
heads nodding. Okay. Am I missing any other paragraphs, sentences, punctuation marks?
Peter, do we have to find no prudent and feasible alternatives?
No,
Okay.
not for this one.
All right. No, so that looks good, Paul. Sounds good.
Okay.
Is there a
Now we
second?
need a second.
I'll second.
Second by
Thank you, sir.
Lorenzo? Okay. Discussion? So I'll bring up the point that, so the conditions are as Peter presented them. They were not altered, is that correct?
Not yet.
Correct.
Well,
And I believe there were, to my recollection, there were 3 items that I note. Firstly, there was a discussion of rephrasing condition 15 to read in first sentence.
okay, but the point is that the motion's on the floor.
Yes.
If you want to make a a change, now is the time before we vote on it.
Correct.
That's what we're doing.
All right.
Yeah.
So make it.
So I am proposing that in item 15, we change the first sentence to read, all areas of encroachment over which the applicant has control be inserted there, over which the applicant has control. And then continuing on.
Also, number 22,
I think there was,
the last sentence of that.
I'm looking. That's a detailed plan and schedule for post-construction stormwater management.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a conversation and we're gonna have to come up with some wording on this, but I believe that we are talking about a plan summary. I'm seeing
That would
a
be
nod from
presented to Peter.
Yes,
Mr. Chair.
I think if we put in there a summary, detailed plan, and schedule, well, I guess we could put summary plan and schedule, in front would be okay. What do you think?
Yeah,
Because the detailed plan will exist somewhere else, is my understanding.
Right.
Yeah,
What I-
would it be a summary of the detailed plan with reference to that plan?
Yes,
Yeah, that was my understanding from the conversation, was that that plan does have to exist. It just doesn't have to exist in our plan set.
right. But then there should definitely be a reference. If there's already a reference on the plan, it doesn't need to be included in this condition of approval. But instead of a detailed plan and schedule, we could change, detailed, or a detailed plan to a summary plan and schedule.
I agree with and propose that change to condition 22.
Okay,
I accept it.
okay.
any other amendments?
I believe we had discussion around condition 20. And the desire there was to modify the condition to rephrase the wording around what constitutes a cancellation or delay, so as to provide some discretion in when and if a planting and restoration plan has to be provided. I'm going to ask my colleagues on the board if they want to help me with some wording on that, and if we need to discuss that one further.
What was that, number 20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was suggested by the applicant?
The applicant made a request stating essentially, in light of their commitment to the property as central to their work, that they didn't anticipate delays or cancellation by the applicant. And I think the same argument is in place here regarding adding material, time, and cost to the plan set. So that was my understanding of it. I also I picked up in the discussion of that the wetlands agent felt like we needed something there. And I would say that I tend to agree on that. I am open to friendly amendment from other commissioners on this.
Yeah. Peter, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I think it should stay in.
I have a thought on this one too. You know, the goal of this commission is to protect the resources. And that language of that condition is there to protect the resources in the event that something falls through. Now, every applicant that comes before us intends to do their project. You know, things happen. So I think we do need protections in place, whether it's what Peter wrote or something similar to it. I don't think I don't think it would be wise to eliminate that condition. And I'm perfectly fine with the way that it's written. But if anybody has some other way that they want to soften it, I'm open to listening.
Well, here's a question for Peter. The wording says that the plan set shall include a contingency, replanting, and restoration plan. Now, the question I have is, does that have to be a full-blown landscape architect's plan? Or can it just be wording about how they would go about the actual restoration in case there is, in fact, a delay and or cancellation of the project?
I don't know. Not sure that necessarily needs to be a landscape architect's plan, but it should have trees and shrubs and areas to be replanted and what they are. What to plant where would be important. The plan that they submitted, the plan set that they submitted did not include a restoration plan, and it would be one additional plan sheet. But I think it would only be one.
Okay.
I think that's the part, that last sentence is the part that they were,
That sticks in their craw.
right.
And I have to say, I agree that it should remain as a condition.
Okay.
Well, here's a question for Mr. Hooley. Can I ask him a question, Peter?
Not really. We're in the
No.
middle of a motion.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's clarify this. We have basically have two amendments to the main motion. I suggest that we vote on that, and then if anybody wants to bring up a third, we'll work through that.
I don't think we can vote.
Yeah, you can't do
Well,
it
we
that
can
way.
vote on the amendment. We can vote on the amendments. And then if somebody wants to make another amendment, that will be added to the main body.
Alan, I think we're in the middle of.
No, he's correct, Peter. He wants me and Paul to agree to the changes. It's not all of us voting. Since I made the second and Paul made the initial motion, we have
Yes.
to agree with the changes to the motions.
Right. That I agree with. Not
We're not voting.
We're not voting on the main motion. We're just voting
No.
on the amendments.
No, you're not voting at all. It's just me and Paul. We have to agree to the amendments to our motions.
And we are expressly talking right now, Kevin, about conditions 15 and 22.
Correct. I'm okay with the changes to the motion.
I am as well.
Okay. So Alan, if we want to continue talking about number 20, then by all means.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, we could do it that way. I mean, it's just, you just run the danger, something like that always runs the danger of the main motion being defeated when there's too many amendments to it. But I don't think that's a danger here. So we have two amendments to the main motion. You get all that, Rebecca? Okay. So now, are there any other amendments that somebody wants to make?
I wanted to say one thing, and maybe I heard this incorrectly. There was the other option of a trigger. I think they offered a trigger, and maybe this might be on a different subject, but the trigger for, instead of the report that it would trigger it, I think that led to a conversation, an example of starting in September and something happened and they're getting stretched out. So I didn't know, I just wanted to kind of like circle back to that because I don't know if they said that they wanted it flat out. I think they offered something in the middle or say, well, is there a trigger here? But I think, Paul, I think you were making a really good point around, or somebody made a good point around like, well, that could be a problem because if we allow that trigger, that we could be sitting here a year later. So I don't know if that came back up. I want to name that. It was around number 20.
Yeah. All right. So there's no other amendments, correct? So we're gonna move the question. Okay,
So, yeah, condition 20 is unchanged at this point.
correct.
Okay.
All right. So we're moving the question forward. All in favor of the motion and all in favor of the motion?
As amended regarding 15 and 22.
Well, now the amendments become part of the main motion.
Yep.
So say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? It's unanimous. Thank you.
So it was
All right.
seven votes and 0-0.
Yeah.
7 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0
One,
abstained.
two,
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was unanimous.
Okay.
Uh,
6?
Okay.
How many do we
Yeah,
have?
parliamentarian.
6, Peter, it was 6.
5. We have 6.
John didn't talk, he just put his
The
hand.
new math.
Yeah.
It
All right,
only took an hour.
all right,
Next item.
all right, next
Thank you,
item.
gentlemen.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. We'll go.
Cease and desist on
Uh,
61.
I'm sorry, Peter, I'm only counting 6 commissioners.
Yeah, we went through this.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah, wake up.
Hey, I was paying attention to counting. I was trying to use both hands, all right?
You got confused, huh?
Yeah, that's where I got messed up with higher mathematics.
Well,
Anything above 5.
put your shoes back on. So, number 2, cease and desist on 61 East Dudley Town Road.
Rebecca, can you promote Andrew Quirk and Brian Fairclough, please?
All set.
Okay, I was on the site last week, before my vacation, and I was out there this afternoon as well. I met with, one of the guys working there. We looked at the, area in question, which is southeast part of the property. And in my July 11th, report, memorandum to the commission, there were 8 items that were on the list of things to do. And of those 8 items, 5, 6, and 7 were done. Let's see. And 2 and 3 were taken care of, should have said done. So it was really only the only things that were left after my previous inspection, which was on the 10th, I guess, were number 1, which was remove sediments from areas south of the straw wattles and retain the wattles. This material from what's now actually between 2 sets of silt fence. One was at the wattles and one was further upland from there. That material has been removed. So number 1 is good, is done. Number 4, which was the removal of sand, removal of the material between the silt fence and the straw wattles, and replanting, has the material has been removed, but the planting has not been done. So the number 8 is the removal of stone and rubble stockpile from the wetlands as required from the original notice of violation. This is still something that's underway. It's been partially removed. There's still, I mean, there's a lot of material out there, and I'm okay with the progress they're making. It's not clear in the field exactly where the wetlands start and where they end. So it says remove the stockpile from the wetlands. So they're working on the backside of it to get that stuff out of there. And I think, I was out there this morning. I'm sorry, I was out there this afternoon, and there was evidence of, the heavy rain that we all experienced yesterday. Sediments, on this site are going to move. What I observed was that the erosion control measures that they have in place seem to be keeping the sediments, for the most part, out of the wetlands. There were some erosion control measures that needed to be updated or reset, upgraded. But all in all, I thought they did a fairly decent job. I'm recommending that the majority of the cease and desist order items were taken care of or satisfactory to me, and that the commission lift the cease and desist order.
Peter, am I mistaken that they still do not have a current permit?
That's correct. The permit application was required as part of an earlier enforcement action. And at the previous meeting, or maybe two back, the commission said they were going to revisit that notice of violation, and part of that was having a new application for a permit submitted.
Well, how can we lift the notice of violation if they don't have a permit?
Because the notice of violation was for a small, was for an isolated incident, not the overall site. So
But
we have
But
to keep.
they still haven't submitted a permit.
No, but the commission gave them till the August meeting to do that.
Okay. All right.
Let's see, did I include that in my? Oh, no, I didn't, because it really has to be kept separately, or have to be kept separate. The notice of violation is separate from the cease and desist order.
They still have one item left to do, right?
The removal of the stockpile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's being removed. I'm happy with the progress they're making.
Okay.
But the whole pile is not gone. The whole pile is not in the wetlands either.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's hope there's an application by August.
Yep.
Hmm. How's the rest of the commission feel?
I
Sounds
think,
like they're making progress.
yeah. It seems like they're making an effort here to complete these items. We really have only one that isn't done at all.
Well, it's partially done.
Right.
Yeah, I think the way I understand Peter's summary of this is item one has not been done at all, but it's not getting worse. Is that a correct assessment, Peter?
No,
No, I thought he said it was done.
yeah, that number one wasn't done when I visited last time. Today I saw that material has been removed. So number one
That
is,
has been,
yeah, number one
that
has,
has been, okay. So the only open items are 4 and 8, and they're in progress.
yes. And in 4, the material's been removed between the silt fence and the wattles, but it hasn't been seeded.
Okay, okay.
That's what I'm waiting for on 4. And again,
Okay.
it's if seed had been planted sometime last week, it probably would have washed out today.
Yeah.
Or over this weekend. So I think again, I'm satisfied with the progress they're making, and my recommendation is to lift the cease and desist order.
I'll be honest, I'm not happy about lifting it at this point. But I understand that there are two different issues, the permit and these violations. Have they posted an additional bond for these at all?
No, we haven't asked for one.
It'd be kind of late to ask for that now.
Yeah. David, do you have any words of wisdom?
It's a little tricky. I'm always hesitant to say that any orders should be lifted until they're completed. It sounds from Peter like they're almost completed and they're on their way. That's where it gets tricky. One question is, Peter, for you have a lot of removing sediment, removing material. Is there anything other than silt fences and wattles about stabilization of areas that were previously disturbed?
Just the recommendation for seeding for ground cover.
For seeding, right.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and I know you said, if it was seeded, it would have been washed away. So that's where I see the potential for continued impacts until a site is stabilized. The silt fences and wattles are temporary stabilization methods. So if this was lifted, do we have, I guess the question I have is, how do we ensure that the site doesn't continue to contribute if it's not stabilized? Because theoretically lifting the order means we're satisfied, and all temporary erosion sedimentation control measures can be removed. If those are removed right now and there's no permanent stabilization in place, then there's no assurance that there's not going to be additional impacts. Not that I'm suggesting that someone would, intentionally do that, but there's no assurance if we lift the order prior to the permanent stabilization. So that's sort of what's bouncing around in my head right now, because I appreciate and I'm glad that they're making progress and that they're well on their way to getting there. But are we close enough is the question that I'm wondering about.
Sure. Well, the commission has the option of upholding the cease and desist order, and continuing it again to the next meeting, or or lifting it. Those are really the two, or modifying it, I guess, is a third option.
Right.
If you don't mind, I'm just gonna throw in there real quick, Brian Fairclough.
Wait, Brian, do you have a camera?
I do actually. Hang on. It's actually working. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Now you can see my smiling face. Realistically, even if the cease and desist is lifted or not, we still, by notice of violation and everything else, we still need to have silt fence up anyway. So even if you lifted the cease and desist right now, it still doesn't mean that we can take all of our silt fence and everything else out, even with the notice of violation, because that's still, if I understand it correctly, we still need to have that stuff in place for that as well too. Am I right, Peter?
Yes.
Right.
Due to the nature of the operations on this site, there's a lot of exposed soils. So
Yeah.
what happened for the original notice of violation that became a cease and desist was that material is getting washed into the wetlands.
Yeah.
So permanent erosion controls are going to be needed out there, as well as some kind of buffer between the I'm talking about a distance, not a physical buffer, but a distance between where the silt fence is or where the permanent erosion control measure is, whatever that ends up being, and the actual operations. So yes, we need some permanent stabilization.
Yep.
I agree with David 100%. But due to the nature of the site, temporary erosion control measures are going to need to be established and maintained.
Yeah.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, Peter, there are conditions of the notice of violation that overlap or at least run parallel to requirements for the cease and desist order. And with the notice of violation staying in place, that gives us the assurance that I was asking about, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Yes. Sorry, I went to look for the file.
Oh, that's okay.
I would agree. In the, let's see. Sorry, I'm going back. February 10th. Geez, I didn't think it was that far. Generally, I think, here we go. Original notice of violation included the original did not include permanent restoration. But the commission changed it to be more specific, as I recall. And I think, let's see. So I think the notice of violation changes that the commission made was April 21st meeting. The motion to uphold the notice of violation included the additional provisions. Sand and stone shall be removed, temporary soil erosion controls, and the permit to be submitted for the August meeting. So no, I'm sorry. I thought there was overlap. There doesn't seem to be.
Well, I can tell you either way that we're gonna make sure silt fence is in place and that we've still got it no matter what. No matter what it's saying, we're still gonna make sure that's in place, even if the cease and desist gets lifted. That will be staying in place and monitored and maintained.
You anticipate having the application in for the August meeting?
That's the anticipation. We are set. I spoke with Andrew the other day. We're set for surveying crews to be out there on Monday to start the process and get everything surveyed out and have it ready for a permit application.
And then when you do that survey, you're gonna be doing the piles where they are, right?
I believe so, yes. I think that's already been started, so they just got to continue on with it.
I would feel more comfortable leaving the cease and desist in place. I don't like lifting it when it's not complete.
So we need a motion to
Yep. Somebody
Either-
needs to make a motion.
uphold or lift.
Yeah.
Paul?
Well, I think, I think you've made a good argument to keep it in place for now until it's done.
Yeah.
We're not assessing any penalties.
Right.
So keeping it in place for the next 30 days or whatever it may be until the next meeting
For the next meeting.
does what? I mean, does that really make a legal difference?
Probably not, but I guess, how can we as a commission lift the cease and desist when it's not complete? It sends the wrong message.
All right, so I move that we uphold the notice of violation.
Cease and desist, not
I'm
violation.
sorry.
Cease and desist.
Again, I took my glasses off.
Cease and desist order, yes.
Cease and desist order
I'll
for 61
second.
East.
Yeah.
Okay,
Seconded by
Paul.
I second.
Paul. All in
Or
favor,
Glenn, take your pick.
all in
Mr. Chair.
favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next month.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's go on to 63 Lincoln Terrace.
Yep.
Notice of
All
violation.
the hits.
Rebecca, can you promote Dwayne Marog to be a panelist? Oh, he's already there. Ah, about that.
All set.
Sorry, he's an attendee. He needs to be a
Good
panelist.
attendee, yeah.
Dwayne Marog.
Mr. Mirage.
I
Mon-
sent him a
Mirage, yes.
promotion.
You got it?
Says he's declining to be a panelist.
Okay.
He's declining?
I can allow him to speak on my end if you'd prefer that.
Yeah, I promoted him to
There he is.
panelist, yeah.
Okay.
He must be having a problem because he went off and came back on.
No, he's there. I mean, I see his name. I don't see a picture, camera.
He's in both places right now. So.
Dwayne declined to be promoted to a panelist.
How can he be in two places at one time?
Well, he went off and came back on and it didn't delete the other one.
Okay.
So he doesn't want to talk to us. Okay.
Well, he
Peter.
may have something to say after we have a little more of a discussion.
Yeah.
So the notice of violation was upheld until this meeting. At the April 21st meeting, the commission upheld the notice of violation to the July 21st meeting. The motion to uphold the notice included replacement of the original corrective measures issued by the wetlands agent with the following 2-year plan. The commission to correct the violation, to remove the fill material. So there was in your agenda package, there's a letter dated April 22 that lists it was a 2-year plan, and the deadlines or the milestones were laid out fairly specifically. So the items that were supposed to be done by July 21st included removal of retaining walls and the shed from the property at 67 Lincoln Terrace, which was, I was there. I'm sorry, I should preface this by saying that I was there this afternoon to observe what was done. The the retaining wall and shed was removed from the property at 67 Lincoln Terrace. All the material that I could observe that had been on the other neighbor at 51 Lincoln Terrace was removed. There are markers. I'm not sure if they were set by a surveyor, but there were markers for the property lines on the north and south, and that and there was erosion control in place as required. I didn't see any open exposed ground that would need to be seeded. So for the most part, I believe Mr. Mirage
Mirage.
had completed what he was asked to complete by this date. The next one would be some stuff to be completed by October 20th of this year, which is the October regular meeting date. So I think the commission has to, in this case, continue to uphold the notice of violation until all of these items are done.
Correct. I would agree with that. Now, what does he have to do by October?
Remove concrete sidewalk, the wooden retaining wall that's close to the brook, and again, stabilize exposed ground with lawn seed or conservation mix.
Okay. So he has to stabilize it all before winter too.
That's correct. So the concrete sidewalk is at the top of the fill. The wood retaining wall and pallet wall are on the sides of the property, and they're all within the area that wasn't supposed to be filled. So this is a step process to get the material out of there.
Just out of curiosity, Peter, when he removes the wood retaining wall and the pallet wall, will that cause any soil to collapse
It
or
some of the
material?
soil, some of the soil is going to have to be pulled back.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the stabilization is part of the condition anyway.
Yes.
Well, yes, except that it's hard to stabilize something that's
Right.
perpendicular.
Well, you stabilize it by pulling it back
Right.
And seeding it.
and seating. Yeah.
Yep. So I guess my recommendation to the commission for this one would be to uphold the notice of violation and to the October 20th regular meeting.
Mhm.
Do we need a motion for that or just leave it in place?
No, I think we should have a motion.
You need a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to uphold the notice of violation for 63 Lincoln Terrace, Wetlands File 74-2024-17.
75. Wetlands file 7.
The April
Oh,
22.
I'm sorry.
letter is
There's two
74.
different ones here.
Yeah,
Peter, can you tell us which one's the correct number? I'm looking at two different, in our packet, we had two different pieces of paper. And
yeah.
one says 74, one says 75.
July 11 says
I'm looking
75.
at the same one.
No,
There's
July 11 letter says 75 and April 22 letter says 74.
Yeah.
Right, because they're different.
Oh,
No, 17. Should be 17. Where
No,
is
they
They
start
both
off by
end in
saying
17.
where's
There's
75?
Wetlands File 75-2024-17.
I'm sorry. Yes, I was mistaking 17 and 75. The wetland file number should be 75-2024-17.
Okay, so the April 22 letter
Is
has it
wrong.
incorrectly.
Is-
Okay, so I make the motion to uphold the notice of violation for 63 Lincoln Terrace, unique ID number 5472, wetlands file number 75-2024-17.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Do we need to put a date on to when we're extending it to?
No, it's indefinite until we change it.
It,
Okay.
and it's
Who
in,
was
it's
the
in the
second,
letter.
please?
Yeah. I am.
I think you should include the date.
David Layupa, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Sorry, what was that, Peter?
Think you should include the next date per this 2-year schedule, which would be October 20th.
Yeah, but what if we don't have a meeting? Does it?
Still has to do it. If we don't have a meeting, it'll be on the next agenda.
Yeah, but does the violation go away because we didn't have a meeting?
No,
No, it's the order is being extended. It's not we don't have an action necessarily at the end of well, the order itself or the violation includes dates and milestones.
Right, the violation is upheld. We're not changing the calendar of milestones.
Right.
So,
So the violation is extended to the next meeting,
Right.
to the October meeting.
October.
we'll review it at the meeting closest to that milestone date. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And if we don't, I guess I don't want to talk too much during the motion, but if we don't have a meeting, then it's still standing.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, because we haven't taken action on it either way.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
We got-
time to vote?
Yeah, vote.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Abstain? It's unanimous. All right,
Okay.
next item. New business. You
Yeah,
got new business?
got new business.
Wow.
Okay, for this one, we need to promote Mr. Ulamaran. And I'm not sure if he wants us to promote anybody else. But let's see. Here he comes. Here we are. Mr. Ulamore, do you have a camera? Mr. Clark as well? We turn on your cameras. Here we go.
Hey.
Okay.
Yes. Can you see me now?
Yes,
Clark, can you hear me?
you're a little broken up, but we can hear you. So this application was submitted when? Submitted on the 12th of June and was officially received by the Wetlands Commission at their regular meeting of June 16th. This
Right.
proposal does not include direct impacts to wetlands and watercourses, and a public hearing was not scheduled. The commission may decide that a public hearing is appropriate in the public interest.
I'm sorry, can you say it again, Peter?
So if I did not schedule an automatic public hearing because there were no direct impacts to wetlands or watercourses, that would have been a public hearing for a significant impact. The commission can hold a public hearing if they choose for significant impacts for or if in the public interest, or if a petition has been submitted for a public hearing. So I did not automatically schedule a public hearing. The commission can decide if they want to have a public hearing, but it would be in the public interest. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes. Where is this property on Burr Road? There's no key map on this?
There is not. It's on the north side of Burr Road, west of Grant Hill Road intersection. So,
It's 125 feet westerly of Grant Hill Road.
yeah, okay, hang on, hang on.
One lot between us and
All right.
Grant Hill.
Mr. Clark, you need to identify yourself for the record.
Sorry, Todd Clark, Clark Land Surveying, Bristol, Connecticut.
Yeah. How come, Peter, is this map, are these site plans missing something? Why does this seem so thin?
There are some typical information that we ask for that is not on those plans, but I think we need to get a little further into the discussion. The plans that you guys have been revised, and hopefully Mr. Clark or Mr. Odomar will be able to share their screen and show that. If not, I will be able to. Okay, so 7.72 acres located on the north side of Burr Road, west of Grant Hill Road intersection. There is an intermittent water course running through this property that does not appear on the official map of Wetlands and Watercourses. This water course extends onto the property, the immediate abutters to the east and west. The proposed house and driveway are south of the water course. The northeast corner of the house, as per your plan, are in close proximity, and grading, I should say, are in close proximity to the water course. The intermittent water course was observed in the field on June 2. A defined bank and channel, evidence of scour and deposits of recent alluvium, the presence of standing water after a storm incident were all observed. The watercourse has a steep, well-defined channel through the subject property, and there does not appear to be any wetlands associated with it.
Yeah. Wait, before we get too far ahead, how does the commission feel about a public hearing or no public hearing?
I'm going to ask that we zoom in on this picture. Is this the revised one or the original one?
This is the revised drawing.
Okay.
The driveway to the east.
Can I ask, do you still have the original to show?
I do.
Alan, to answer your question, I'm okay without it being a public hearing.
Okay.
Same here.
Yeah, I think I would agree.
If the consideration is in public interest, I would look at how impacts from the project, or how the project may have impacts to the intermittent water course and the abutting properties. It doesn't seem that it would be significant enough to be a public hearing, and I don't believe so.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, can we get that earlier revision?
Okay, what's on the screen now is the original drawing I had sent to you before we met out there.
I'm seeing the driveway on the picture that we can see on the right-hand side of the.
Sure.
So
Hang on.
you may have to unshare the first one to share the second.
Did I drop it down? Did it go?
Nope. No, there you go. Try to share again. Well, while you're working on that, let me just, the plan that we have that was sent to the commission shows a driveway on the left side of the house. The revised plan is reversed and it's shown on the right side. So if you can't get the old one to come up, let's look at the new one. Again, the proposed regulated activities come close to the water course, but they're not in the water course. So again, they're going to be within the upland review area. Sometimes the you know, the plan view shows no direct wetland impacts, and that's true, but there might be grading or other impacts associated with that. Yeah, this is the same one with the driveway on the right. We're looking for the driveway on the
Or
left.
yeah,
All right.
Peter, before we get too deep into this, you mentioned that the intermittent water course was observed on the field, but it's not in our mapping. Is that correct?
Yes.
So why was there not a map amendment? Because an intermittent water course is a regulated resource.
Yes, it is. And I thought about that, and I'm not sure that, you know, in this case, I didn't feel that a wetlands map amendment was appropriate. It's been identified, and you know, it's observable in the field. I don't know. I didn't think in this case that a map amendment was absolutely necessary. Perhaps the commission disagrees with me, but that was, you know, and again, from what I observed, it has got a pretty steep grade. There were no areas where it flattens out and where you might find some wetland soils. So it's really just you know, it's a
the
surface change.
conveyor of water.
Yeah, that conveys runoff, and it has been surveyed. It's shown on this plan and
So
on the
what is the other map that's in our packet then? The 11 by 17, because that shows an intermittent water course on it.
yes. And if you look closer, you'll see that it was surveyed. Is that the survey plan or my sketch?
I guess it's a sketch map. It's 11 by 17. It's yeah, it shows Burr Road, Grant Hill Road.
Yep.
Yeah. So where did that line come from?
I'm guessing you're looking at the GIS plan that I prepared.
Yeah, the GIS plan. Yeah.
Yeah, and I showed it on that plan as observed in the field.
Okay.
Should have put a note.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, because you said that's where I was confused, because you said it wasn't mapped, but then it shows up on the plan, but you just sort of hand drew that in then.
Right.
Okay, got it.
So
Okay. Are you seeing the
question.
driveway on the left now?
Nope. We're still seeing the black background. I think you got to close that one, Mr. Clark, and reshare the other one. So really the main thing here is that the house is being somewhat wedged into the area between the street and this water course. The plan shows a driveway coming in on the left-hand side of the house, which makes it, kind of pushed over to the left, if you will, looking on it. My suggestion after meeting the applicant and Mr. Clark in the field was to consider shifting the house to the left or to the west, and possibly creating a front load rather than a side load garage. And that's kind of the plan that they submitted as a revised plan, which is what what I'm looking at on the screen with that black background is a revised plan. And I guess we're going to have to look at that unless you guys want me to bring up. I have the black and white one. Do you want me to bring it up?
Yeah, could you please?
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm still seeing the driveway on the right on the screen share.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. I've got to open it first. Hold on.
Okay, so I am now seeing the left-hand side driveway that you're talking about, Peter. Thank you.
Okay, I guess somebody
Okay.
else. I didn't share it.
Don't know if
But
I can do it
as
again.
long
I
as
need
we're
to.
all as long as we're all looking at the same picture. So this was the original plan, and can I ask you to zoom in on this one?
Sure.
So that's fine. The original plan had the driveway, like I said, on the left coming in, and it was the garage was, I mean, the house is pushed to the right towards the water course to allow for that driveway. And my recommendations were to consider a front load driveway or garage and shifting the house all the way to the 25-foot side yard, which would pull it away from the wetlands. My comments and um, recommended conditions of approval for this one were based on this plan. So now there's been a revised plan submitted, and if we could see that one with the white background, that'd be great. Mr. Clark, can you bring up the,
Yeah, I'm trying to just not able to get to my file here. Let me see.
While he's doing that, can you tell us, Peter, why there's no upland review area shown? Because intermittent water course is still a water course.
yes, there wasn't on the original plan. There is now.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the 200 foot would be off each side of the property, the entire
I'm
property.
sorry. Yeah, this is is the green line the vegetated buffer? I thought that was the upland review area.
Yeah, that's 75 feet from
Okay.
the center line of water course. I just noticed in your email, it said 200 feet is regulated. So
It's almost off
the whole lot is regulated.
Yeah.
There should be a note on there somewhere then that
Sure.
says that.
So I haven't had a chance to really look through this plan as compared to the other plan, but it does have some improvements as far as the location of the structure is further away from the wetlands or from the water course. The driveway is now in a much better location for sightline, which doesn't really apply to the Wetlands Commission, but I think it works better in that location regardless of where the garage is. And I guess the only big change that I can see is the construction of a retaining wall for that driveway, that little driveway turnaround, hammerhead there, which, yeah, it's good to have a turnaround there, but I'm not sure that that's absolutely necessary for the project. I'd be okay with this plan. I think my conditions of approval will apply. But there's some I think some consideration should be made to either eliminating that hammerhead, or I assume it's for a 2-car garage. So it's possible to pave it 3 cars wide instead of 2. But without a garage door, you could still have a turnaround. More place to turn around.
So that driveway's right on the property line?
We've got 13 feet from the edge of the driveway to the property line. It's 43 to the house with a 13-foot setback there.
Well, that's really a zoning question, so we won't go there.
Yeah.
But how close are you to the brook?
And the back of the house is 22. This is very close. This would be like 5 feet where the retaining wall is to the channel.
So when they plow the snow, they're gonna push the snow to the end of the driveway.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. not much choice on this lot if it's going to be a viable lot.
Well, can you cut the driveway back so that you don't plow that close?
We can trim it. I think I could probably take half of that turnout away, come back a bit.
Yeah, my concern is that all the sediment from the snow and the salt and whatever you got is gonna get pushed into the water course.
Right. You're talking about a small area. If you look at the 178 contour, that's the high point. So we're talking about, well, I guess if you were plowing uphill, you'd be plowing.
Yeah, you'd be plowing it right
I'm
there.
thinking
Plowing all
you're
of
gonna
that in.
plow off the side of the driveway.
A plow driver's not gonna go that way. They're gonna go straight back.
Right, but I'm saying when you're plowing here, you're not pushing all the snow to the back. It's coming off the side.
Onto your neighbor's property.
And they'll back plow the portion directly in front of the garages, most likely.
Not
and
really. I
that's
mean,
gonna bring
if
you-
it's a 2-inch storm, they're gonna go run straight down the driveway. You gotta
Yeah.
reconfigure that somehow.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah,
cut-
I would even recommend not draining the driveway that way towards the brook at all. And I think that's one of my recommended conditions, that the driveway can be graded to pitch to the street, the whole driveway.
Mhm.
But if that hammerhead was eliminated, that would be probably close to the, you know, eliminating that grading that drains it towards the brook.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
So
I would like to point out how very little grading there needs to be on this layout. On the back, this 186 does dive up in here. That would have to be directed to grade away from the house. But then we're matching the grade at the 184, 182, 180. Again, we may tweak this a little bit, but we're very little grading. There's a 1 foot of fill there. And then across the front, we're just flattening it out across the very front of the house. And then these other contours are very close to existing grades with very little disturbance associated with this house, except for the driveway cut. We've got about a 6 foot cut from the edge of road to the street line. So that's going to be about 10% here, even to a basement low garage. That's the reason we can't come in straight on. We actually need this extra length to get the elevation to get into the basement. It's quite a bit of it's a big bank here.
And what if you put the driveway in the front of the house and put the garage in the front of the house like a raised ranch?
The length, we need this extra 20 feet here to climb another 2 feet just to get into the basement. You see I got the garage floor at 179.3, which is just about 7/10 below grade, about 8 inches right now. If we came into the front, that 179 would be about a 3 foot cut in this 182 existing contour. So we cause all sorts of problems getting up to the front door.
What's the soil conditions in front of the house?
What type of soil is there?
Yeah, I mean, is it granite? Is it ledge or is it sandy soil or?
We had not excavated anything to find out. Peter did have a nice picture of the water course. I don't know if you could, Peter, can you show that?
yeah,
That might give us the best indication of soil.
The NRCS soil survey indicates the soils are well-drained Haven and Enfield soils. 32C is their designation. Okay, there you go. That was pretty good. I didn't have to do anything, and
Yeah, so I'll get the hang of it now.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. So this is a picture, and if you could make it bigger, hit the enlarge button at the top or full screen, whatever you got.
Yeah.
So this is a picture of the watercourse looking upstream towards the neighbor to the west. And if you look kind of in the background, you see some standing standing posts. They've got some kind of a fence there. It might be encroaching. There's a stone wall in the background, but you can see that this watercourse, kind of winds through, and I think I described it as 2 to 5 feet wide and 1 foot deep. But it did include those requirements or those designators for an intermittent watercourse. So that's why I think it is an intermittent watercourse as opposed to just a drainage channel. And go ahead.
It looks intimidating here. This watercourse goes down to the intersection of Grant Hill and Burr Road, and it goes into a 12-inch pipe. This photo was taken June 2nd, and I don't know if you recall, May was the third wettest May on record. So this is probably the worst we're gonna see it. It looks bigger to me here than I feel it actually is, but this is probably our worst case scenario. Did you notice when we go back to the plot plan, I have clearing up to about the top of bank. You'll see a little bit of slough off here. So what I'm proposing is from our work disturbance area, probably about here down to the property line, to line that with native rocks, just to prevent any further scouring. And then I would like to work with Commissioner Peter. If you want to select a few of your favorite plants to go along the top of bank, we'd love to work with you on that.
Yes, I'm willing to do that.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay. So, Alan, do you want me to go through my staff report?
Well, you still got to you still need more information from him, right? Or do you have sufficient information for the staff report?
Yes,
I have sufficient information.
Okay. Yeah, so why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so my recommended conditions are final plans revised per the conditions of approval shall be submitted within 60 days. 3 paper copies, Mylars, to be filed on the land records. 2 erosion control signature blocks needed to be added to the plan. The permit needs to be filed on the land records. We have less than 1 acre of disturbance, so I'm recommending a $5,000 bond. Pre-construction meeting, pre-clearing meeting, and erosion controls installed according to the 2024 guidelines and maintained for the duration of the project. Prior to the certificate of occupancy, we want an as-built grading plan prepared by a surveyor, and schedule a meeting with me 2 weeks before the CO to go over the work. This permit authorizes regulated activities within the upland review area 200 feet from a water course. The impacts shall be no greater than 15,000 square feet, or about 0.34 acres. No regulated activities within the water course are authorized with this permit. If the commission is okay with putting in some rock or stone lining in this water course, then that would have to be included in the as part of the regulated activities. And that last sentence of item number 11 would not apply. Certain impacts to the vegetated buffer zone is about 10,000 square feet. Mitigation for planting for this impact shall be provided with the planting trees and shrubs at the limits of clearing and elsewhere. And again, it's for the same reasoning of not wanting a sharp break between the cleared and the construction area and the forest. So it's usually a strip right along the limits of clearing, and we want to use the same kind of trees and shrubs that are out there. So I'm okay working with the applicant to make sure that that's the case. The same item came up in the last application where I wrote or recommend that areas disturbed for this project shall be restored to their previous existing condition as much as possible. The planting of trees, shrubs, and or ground cover within 2 years of the date of approval or within 1 year of the initial site disturbance if the project is canceled or delayed by the applicant. So my intent, my reading of this is that areas disturbed for the project. So that would be, the initial disturbance is going to be clearing. Then you do ground, then you do earthwork. So if it gets to that point and the project is stopped or delayed within 2 years of the property or within 1 year of the initial site disturbance, then there needs to be some kind of restoration done. I didn't include in this particular case a request for that to be shown on the plan as a separate plan. This is, this isn't an industrial development. It's a single family residence. So that's a condition, but without the requirement that a plan be added. And then the last condition is permit cannot be transferred to another party, and that this permit will be assigned to the applicant property owner, which is Diamond Homes LLC. The plan, the original plan, I thought was too close to the wetlands, and my recommendation was to shift it away from the wetlands. And I think they've done that with the house. And the only issue I really have with the new plan is with that hammerhead and a retaining wall that gets real close to the water course. So, there will be some disturbance in either plan close to the water course. But I think with the proper erosion control measures in place, the water course should be protected. I think the commission should discuss whether they are okay with putting a rock lining in the channel. I've seen it work pretty well. I've seen it installed, that kind of thing installed without a permit that the commission issued a notice of, or I issued a notice of violation about. And there is, although there isn't a lot of wildlife habitat in this steep channel. There is some. I think there is some importance to trying to keep it as natural as possible. I don't think it's a man-made channel, but it could have been. The woods that are there have some huge trees in it. So I don't think this property has been cleared for maybe close to 100 years. So that channel has been there for a while, is my guess.
Yeah, Peter, there's a bobcat that further down Burn Road that I've seen, by that brook.
You wouldn't see this brook unless you went into the site.
No, where it feeds all the way down Burr Road and it gets near, it gets near Burnwood.
Yeah. Yeah, there
That's
is a brook that run, yeah, and
That's where I see the bobcat.
yeah, I'm not surprised. Yep. I'm not surprised. So there's no fish in this
Right.
brook or in this water course. There was no, I didn't hear any frogs when I was out there. I didn't see any turtles. So, the lining of the channel is something that I didn't comment on in my staff report because I didn't really have it to comment on. Is it, is the lining going to be on the banks or on the bottom too, or just on the slopes with a natural bottom? Those are the questions that I would ask.
All right, I'm going to have to defer to my engineer. We'll have to work that out. My thought was just I didn't want any further scouring.
Right. And that's the reason for putting in, protective stone on a channel like this. And I think I mentioned it before. It looks pretty steep here in the foreground, probably a little bit distorted, but it does have a pretty good slope. I mean, it drops 15 or 18 feet across the property. And the property is only 150 feet wide, so it's dropping pretty good. And I'm not surprised at all that there is some scour in there. And we observed that.
And can somebody refresh my memory? We are looking to the, what did you say, Peter? Is that to the
west,
east?
west uphill.
To the west.
Yeah,
To the west.
uphill to the west. We're near the westerly property line.
Okay, so the on the map that would be number 48.
Would be number 48.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, just trying to get my geography here. So
Yep.
yes, so we're looking at the down slope.
We're
towards
looking
Road.
upslope towards
Yeah, but we're watching it flow downward, and below this picture it runs down towards Grant Hill Road.
correct.
Okay.
At the it doesn't really matter for this application, but the neighbor on Grant Hill, I think it's 5 Grant Hill.
Yes.
The channel through their woods looks very much like this. The channel that runs through their lawn is stone lined. I don't know if I sent you all of the pictures, Mr. Clark, but that one.
No, I don't have any more.
Okay.
And that is, I mean, that's not like landscaping rock. I mean, I'm not that far from there. I know that stretch of road. That's like riprap, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's different ways to line the channel too. I mean,
Yeah.
riprap is one way. It's not the prettiest way,
Right.
but it's the least expensive. The other one that I referenced earlier tonight, that ended up being a notice of violation, was they used large what they call river rock. So these were 6 to 8 inch stone, pieces that are mostly round because they've been worn down. That's more expensive by far. And it's more attractive too. So right now you're tracing the line of the water.
The water course pretty much cuts the lot in half.
Yep.
Yep.
And we walk right, and we walked up to the northerly part of the property. We didn't see any other water courses or wetlands up there.
No, in fact, there's a high point, so everything, that water's going that way.
And there's, I don't know, 50, I don't want to say 50 feet. It's probably 30 feet of elevation across the property. So that's a pretty good drop.
Yeah.
House with the garage in the basement fits that better than the previous plan. Then,
Yep.
And there was a lot less, a lot more grading proposed on the original plan. So it's already 10 minutes to 10. So unless the commission has other questions for me, I won't go through all the rest of the detail of the staff report. I am recommending that they do some borings to see if they have bedrock. A couple borings in the foundation would be plenty, I'm sure. There's a on this plan. I guess that would be a question. Is there is the footing drain shown on this plan?
I have it out to grade.
Okay.
Right at the back.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with a footing drain draining that way directly to the water course, assuming that groundwater in quantity is not encountered in the excavation. So that would be borne out or better identified by the borings. So, for instance, if groundwater is intercepted, that's more of an issue with the previous plan because there was a lot more excavation. What would be the excavation at that closest point?
You got existing at 180, a little higher than 186, and the basement floor at about 180.
Closest to the brook. Yep.
Oh, this is right at grade.
Okay, so the deepest foundation, the deepest hole there is going to be for the 4 feet for the frost wall.
Right.
I think before you were 7 or 8 feet for the walkout basement.
And we had Phil. Yeah, Phil coming around.
So this one's got a lot.
This matches the existing grade almost perfectly.
Yeah, much less direct impact to the overall site. But again, if there's a lot of water coming out of that foundation hole, that's going to run, more than a normal footing drain, then we may have to look at discharging it down to the street.
We do have a basin out here, yeah.
Yep, and I do see that there's an under drain, if necessary, for the cut right in there because that's the biggest cut. So I'm assuming that's to prevent runoff from getting, drive across the driveway there.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
that's 6 foot cut there.
Yep. And most of that is in the bank up from the road.
Yeah.
Right there.
Right.
Okay. I did mention that even though it may not run all the time, that intermittent water course in a torrential downpour could be something that could get close to the house. And that was another recommendation for moving it further away. And this, I don't think, is going to have that same potential for a problem with flooding. The only other thing that I mentioned or I think I should mention, is that the house doesn't have much of a backyard here, behind the house. But it's a nice wooded lot. And if the applicant wants to, and it's up to them, show a footbridge that spans the watercourse to access that backland. I wouldn't recommend doing any more clearing, but it's a nice wooded lot back there. And if they think that's a good idea, then I think it should be shown as an option on the plan. But I would ask that it be a span, not a pipe put in the channel.
Okay.
There's several ways to do that with either with a half a pipe or just with a wooden, walkway bridge. Not for vehicles, just for people. So I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna hear this next month.
I don't know that we need to.
Well, he's gotta do some test borings, right?
Well, yeah, I'm recommending them, but I don't think the test borings are going to have an impact on the regulated activities.
Well, did we determine where the driveway is gonna be? I'm not crazy about the driveway in that position. I would rather see test borings in front of the house and see if they could cut a driveway into the front of the house with a garage, underneath it, than to go that close to the brook.
Yes, I would prefer that too, but the restraints here are the height of the driveway or the height of the house above the road. If you put a driveway in front, it will be much shorter and would exceed our maximum grade, I think is 12% for a residential
Yeah.
driveway.
But if they could cut into the hill and, drop the house, I don't know. The house would be what's the house at? 187?
Yeah, we would have to drop it about 3 feet, which would cause an awful lot of disturbance up here. A big cut on the upper side to get the water out, and then I'm pretty sure we'd be intercepting the water table certainly in the spring, so it would just be a constant battle with the water coming out of the hillside in that cut.
Yeah, I think that driveway's gotta be pulled away from the brook somehow.
Well, I can certainly cut that hammerhead. I'll cut that hammerhead off, and if we need to make a radius to get out the driveway, we can. When you back out of the garage, that the whole point is to be able to head toward the street. So you're not going to be able to turn until you get about here. You're not going to get the car turned very far, but if we have to add a little pavement over here and lose this, we can definitely lose this. Worst case scenario, we add a little pavement here.
Yeah, I would like to see those plans.
I would agree, Mr. Chair, and I think just going back to the idea of rock in this watercourse, I kind of suggest the other idea that you spoke about, which was simply to plant kind of geographically appropriate erosion control there rather than placing riprap or some other rock in that waterway. And maybe there's some preventive measures you can take during construction to avoid, any significant runoff. But it seems like that installing rock to avoid scrubbing might be, an elephant gun on a fly, and might alter that more than just some sensitive landscaping would. My 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, so I really think they got more work to do.
So the other thing was, Mr. Clark suggested that they work with Peter in coming up with plants appropriate for planting between the waterway and the house, as a step down, if you will, from the trees to the lawn. I think that's a great idea, but I also would like to see that design. And that also serves the other purpose of being a line that the homeowner doesn't necessarily cross unless they do it with what Peter suggested, a footbridge going over the stream so they can access the back property. So I would like to see that as part of the plan as well. I'm sorry to complicate it more.
No, that's fine.
No, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I think doing what you've done to avoid significant cutting into the grade, you know, it seems the way to go. I mean, I having experienced driveways with large retaining walls on the sides to get into a front garage, you know, I see the sense in this. But yeah, I'm with the other folks here. I think we need to see this once more.
Yeah,
I want to just support what Paul and Kevin were saying. I always prefer soft armoring for streams rather than hard armoring, and the use of a multi-stem shrub or something with some plant that has the ability to spread out a little bit and hold the banks.
A deeper root, yeah.
It has a better long-term viability. The other consideration is, this is an intermittent water course, and insertion of stones where there aren't any has the potential to alter the microhabitat, because you're going to inevitably have invertebrates living there, and stones in a water course with grade introduces nick points, so that causes erosion within the channel itself. So you're going to have drops that sort of scour out the soils within the channel, because the water is going to be flowing over a rock and then falling off the rock. So, I appreciate that you want to hold the bank, which is important, but I think the use of vegetation is probably more appropriate here.
Yeah.
And my last 2 cents about the plants is, even though you're close to a water course, and this is obviously a wetlands issue, I also see the need for, being a residence, plants that aren't necessarily native. So I would be happy with a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 ratio of more natives to introduced plants, providing, of course, that the introduced plants aren't, say, on anybody's invasives list, like the dwarf burning bush, euonymus. But there are a lot of plants out there that can easily be plugged into this that are native, and even a few that are introduced that would be perfect without being invasive. And would do like David said, that would be either multi-stem or more aggressive growers, so that they would hold the soil and keep any type of erosion to a minimum.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, to each their own, but my guess is, as you said, that, it being a residence, that is going to be a nicer look year round than possibly looking at a bunch of riprap.
Well, yeah, but I think the riprap was really being talked about being put on the side as opposed to within the channel. However,
yes,
I would agree with what David said about how introducing the stone can change the nature of that water course, even if it's on a micro level.
Okay.
But also, Peter, there is something that somewhat concerned me with the photograph that you took looking upward toward the property to the west. And that was that they had a fence going across the water course. Doesn't that fence catch debris and block the water course?
It doesn't actually go into the channel. It kind of spans the channel.
But
So,
enough?
I don't think there's much left to it.
Yeah. The fence it's not chicken wire, but it's the one with the rectangular holes.
Okay.
So I'm not holding any debris. We didn't.
Okay.
Chain link fence.
No, not chain link fence.
No?
This is a square wire fence.
You can,
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know if you can zoom in
Like
anymore.
stockade fencing
No,
it's, you
or
see
cattle?
this, you kind of
cattle
see
fence?
it's almost a
Oh,
netting.
yeah.
Oh,
It's rectangular
yeah,
instead of being octagonal.
Oh, yeah.
right. And you can see the,
Oh, they even have a down, yeah, there's even a down branch or tree there spanning it.
Yep.
All
So the
right, see,
fence goes across the top of that.
I thought that was debris being held back by the fence.
No,
All right,
that's all that stuff you see is downstream of the fence.
yeah.
okay.
And I think some green, to the right, there's some greenish blue construction fence too.
Yep.
So I think we need a motion, sounds like to me, to table to the next meeting, which is August 18th.
Is there a motion to table this to the next meeting?
So moved.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Second by
Paul.
Paul,
Paul.
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? See you next month.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
What else we got, Peter?
A new wetland agent permit was received and is under review. Cigna security improvements. They're going to put in some card readers for the Cigna parking garage for access. Right now, anybody can just drive in. You don't have to even work there. So they're going to have key access. They need to build some additional lanes for people that pull in but don't have a card and they need to bail out. So they're like bypass lane at McDonald's. And some of the work, like less than 1,000 square feet, is in the upland review area. So I'm reviewing that one as a wetlands agent permit. There's also one that I haven't got an application form for yet, but it is a similar project up at the TJX warehouse on Blue Hills Avenue. They have an auxiliary parking for their vehicles, their trailers, that is on the Woodland Avenue, Blue Hills Avenue corner. And they want to build some retaining walls to create a walkway behind these trailers for security reasons, so that their security people can actually walk between the trailers and the fence and the big berm that's there. So it's again all in the upland review area, but I don't have a plan to share with you on that one. I'm I was of the opinion that the one for the TJX warehouse might be suitable for a jurisdictional ruling, but I think they're going to submit an application anyway. Either way, I'll let you know at the next meeting. All right. I don't think we should do status of projects unless somebody has a question, because we still have to do minutes and we're past our 10 o'clock time, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Can we do minutes?
Yep.
So I was reading through the minutes, thinking to myself, well, you look at that, we have somebody new doing the minutes for us, and I can't find anything wrong.
Whoa.
And then I found
Clever
something.
glasses on.
And then I found something.
Oh.
But it's such a simple thing. I mean, it's nothing to get angry about or anything.
Angry?
Yeah. So
Okay.
If you get angry about minutes, you got a real problem.
so on page 2, under the heading 6 for wetlands agent permits,
Yep.
the very first line says, "This was application was." You need to remove the first was.
Okay.
Eagle Eye Wilcox.
Yeah, well, that just shows you how little I have to do.
Anybody else?
Any other questions? Any other changes?
No.
Motion to accept the minutes as corrected,
Move.
made by Paul, seconded by
I think Glenn.
Glenn. All in favor? Aye.
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 It's abstaining, it's unanimous.
Although technically, and I'm just being a stickler, Mr. Jones probably should have abstained.
Um,
But that's just being a stickler. I've got nothing better to
Well,
do.
I've seen that go different ways at other committees I'm on. And new people can vote on minutes.
Okay.
I don't know what the correct answer is.
Mr. Jones, did I send you the minutes, Mr. Jones? Did I?
No, I don't think I got the minutes, but I'm following my chair. So the chair.
Always a good policy.
Whoa.
Um,
Look at that, Alan. You got somebody else in
Didn't
your
need
corner.
to see the minutes to know excellence when he heard it.
okay, public comments. Are there any public comments?
We still have one attendee. Who's our attendee?
I think
Mr.
That
Mr.
was the one who
Mirage.
That's the one who got stuck in here because he was.
Oh, okay. In two places. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion. Anything else?
I move that we close the meeting,
Okay.
adjourn.
Made by Kevin, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous. Thank you all.
10. Okay.
you. Rebecca, can you turn off the recording?
Thank you.
This was
Thank you.
awesome. Oh my God. This was awesome. I am going to nerd out on this.
So Mr. Jones,
Don't forget the live streaming there,